Hey guys, welcome back to Cheney's TCG store. Today I have another market watch for you. I'm sorry I didn't get another one out this weekend, but things came up and I got pretty busy. But with that aside, let's go ahead and get in today. So as you can tell, we're looking at OTS Pack 19, and yes, we did just talk about it, but prices have kind of changed a little bit since the last time we talked about it. I can't remember if we talked about it we did, I think over the weekend. But Skill Drain is $85 now for the Ultimate Rare. Not too bad. I think it did go a little bit lower and then it's come back up a little bit. Water Enchantress 83, 80 to 85. I think it's a super fair deal at this point. I think it went to 75 maybe, but now it's back up a little bit. I think it'll probably hold above 70, but it could pull something similar to what's that card called? Ecclesia, where it went down towards like $55. I don't think it will, but it's a possibility. Where it gets weird is then it's similar in price to the Ultimate Rare, but I wouldn't count anything out with the way the market's going right now. Albaz 63. To be honest with you, I've looked at pictures of these, and it could be that I've just seen only a bad bunch of pictures, but I've seen quite a few, and it just doesn't look great. If you have a picture of one, if you own it, or you know where to find a good picture of it that shows the foiling a little bit better, let me know. Because this is a card that I'm interested in. I just don't want it to, spend the money if it's going to be a bad Ultimate Rare. Chalice at 320. It's around where I said it would be. It'll probably stay at around $3. This card's really good. I'm probably going to pick up a playset when I can get a playset for more towards like $3 flat, because the cheapest playset's $4, and then having to, I guess you get free shipping on orders over 5, so you won't have to pay that extra dollar, but 4 is still a little bit high. And then the last card that I wanted to cover in here is just Snow, which is around $3, which is fair. I do think that they might bring this card back to 2 or 3, which I don't really think will like make it more powerful, in my opinion. Like, you really only want to dump this card from your deck. You don't really want to open it, because you're, unless you don't need your normal summon, you're just not going to be normal summoning this card. The only way it would come up is if you just, like, if you had 1 copy in your deck and you just, or 3 copies in your deck and you just drew it later in the game, like turn 2 or turn 3, and you didn't need another normal summon. But most likely, if you don't need your normal summon, you're going to be playing Adventure Token, for at least for the better decks. So in that case, you wouldn't be able to use this effect anyways. But we'll move on. I wanted to take a look at Totally Awesome because it's seeing crazy buyouts right now. So actually the Mega 10 Secret Rare is still not too bad here at 32. I still think that's perfectly fine. What's crazy to me is that the rare is now $25 going up to 27. Like, don't be an idiot and buy the rare when the secret rare is like $5 more. I understand, like, people might just want to get the cheapest copy, but I wouldn't spend over $8 to $10 on the rare. It just doesn't make sense. I'm sad they didn't reprint it in this water set. I feel like that would have been a huge boost to that set, but just a missed opportunity. Next, I wanted to take a quick look at Legendary Duelist, Duels from the Deep, which we covered this when it came out, but now the prices have, it's got a little bit more time to settle, or, kind of go where it's going to go, whether that's up or down. Forbidden Droplet at 60, kind of expected it to bounce from that 40 to 45 range, depending on if it's seeing play, and I think it is seeing play by people. Just keep in mind, if you don't need this card right now, you might as well wait for the reprint that's coming in the Mega 10s. I'm pretty sure I heard that, and I know we've been talking about that, and no one said, no, you're wrong, it's not in the Mega 10s. So, almost 100% positive it's going to be there. Honor Arc, $40. I mean, that's fair, but I would honestly rather get the whatever that Crystal Wing card was from the last Duelist pack. I think that would be something that I would be more interested in. But it's not bad if you want it. It'll probably stick around there, maybe go to like 35. The boxes are going for 40. It's going to drop from here for sure. It's going to be more towards 30. I think there's just a couple of price spikes right now, which is kind of holding this up a little bit. It's nice to have that droplets though, but on average, you're not going to pull that from just 1 box unless you just get lucky. If you do pull that, then you made good money on your box, but it's up to you if you want to risk doing it. I personally probably wouldn't. I mean, it is always fun to open some product and gamble, but if I was going to open product to gamble, I would go with like Grand Creators or Burst of, actually not even Burst of Destiny at this point. It's kind of lost its value with Verte being gone, and so Destroyer Phoenix isn't really seeing play. Marincess Dive, $12, and then it goes up to 16 here with a huge wall at 16. Did not expect that. I did expect a little bit of price increases for the Marincess card, but mainly for the Marincess cards that didn't see reprints in this set. But pretty crazy to see this doing so well. I do think Marincess is a really good deck. I know people have been asking about it. It's hard to put a tier on it. I just still think it's going to be a rogue deck because I don't think it'll see enough representation. I wouldn't personally be investing to this deck at this point. The good time to buy it was when I told you, a month or at least a month ago that you want to buy it ahead of this set coming out to sell into the hype, or if you wanted to play it to get it at a better price point. We've seen Blue Tang going up to $16, $17, which is crazy. I think it was 7 or 8 when I mentioned it. Fish Sonar at 12. The weird thing about this card is I think when I showcased it, or maybe when I was just looking back at it a day or two ago, this card had gone down to $5 and now it's back to 12. So if you snag these at 5, you did pretty good. I was not expecting it to bounce back so quickly. Abyss Shark at 5, I think that's fine. This card is pretty good for the shark archetype. Spring Girl at $4 is a little crazy to me, being that it's a super rare, but I do believe it's a pretty good card. I'm actually going to read it if you guys don't mind, just because I want to see why it would be a $4 super rare. You can banish one Marincess monster from your graveyard, special summon this card from your hand. Okay, off the bat, pretty good extender there. If this card is sent to the graveyard as material for a link summon of a water monster, you can send cards from the top of your deck to the graveyard equal to the number of Marincess cards you control. Oh, wow. So you're getting a free special summon and a mill. And then you can inflict 200 damage for each Marincess card sent by this effect. Yeah, that's a pretty powerful extender for this deck. Basically, this deck, you just want to link spam and get a lot of monsters on board. So pretty good there. It might have been a little bit better if it lets you like special summon itself by banishing and then being able to search. But I think I'm not really too familiar with what Marincess does. I haven't like read the whole archetype, so there could be cards that you send to the graveyard that would give you a search. I have no idea. But that's really all for this set that I really wanted to cover. Oh, I guess we will just take a look real quick at the link monsters. So I feel like those are still pretty low in price. And I might pick them up myself just to have. But it's crazy to me that these are cheaper than this, but I imagine you're playing this at a couple copies. Coral Triangle here at $3. And Aqua Agronaut at $3 as well. Being ultra rares, I think that's really fair. What does this card do? Actually, I'm going to read this real quick. Take one card from your deck, either a Bury and Spell or Trap, or rank up Magic, Quick Play Spell, or a 7th Spell or Trap, except for this card. Either add it to your hand or place it on the top of your deck. If your opponent controls a monster special summon from the extra deck, you can banish this card from your graveyard, send one rank up Magic spell from your hand to the graveyard. This effect becomes that spell's effect. Huh. Interesting. I mean, I don't know that this is like really overpowerful, but a pretty cool card if you're playing, a rank up engine. Moving on, I wanted to kind of look at some of the scrap cards. We'll look at them in succession, but scrap is really good to play as an engine, especially if you're playing something like a scrap deck with like engine with a like Mech Knight engine or Orcust engine. It's just really good at spamming monsters out and building a good board. However, it did take a pretty big hit when we lost Verte, because that was one of your power plays, is just making your Verte. Of course, every deck, that was their power play. But this deck can still do a lot without going into Verte. It can easily go into like an Appaloosa and, like an Orcust play as well. Pretty good. But I think Scrap Raptor is absolutely insane. And it's definitely a card that you want to have around, just in case for the future. One thing I will say is I wouldn't necessarily go ahead and pick up the super rare unless you really like OTS pack super rares. Just because this was Lightning Overdrive, so there's a potential that we get this as like a prismatic secret rare in the Mega 10s this year, in which case this price will be much lower. And so you can just get whatever version you want at that point. But it's not bad at $3. The common is, is pennies. Next is Fossil Dig. So specifically for the scrap engine, where you're wanting to go into your Scrap Raptor or, search it to your hand, you can play Scrapyard, which does, the super rare is around $10. And it's a solo printing from Duelist Revolution, which is, quite expensive for, this being more of like a budget deck. But one option you can do is just play Fossil Dig, because you can add a dinosaur card to your hand, so it pretty much replaces it, and you can get the OTS super rares for $1.50 here, solid, with 6 copies available, which is pretty good. I do think having some of these dinosaur cards is good, because dinosaurs could come back into the format, in a year. It's just such a powerful deck. I don't really enjoy dinosaurs, me personally, but it is a good deck, and I've gotten my ass handed to me a few times playing against dinosaur. And then you also have the Brothers of Legend Ultra Rare that just came out, which I have these currently. I'm probably looking to pick up the super rares as well, but these are 30 cents. And then you have a big wall here at 60 cents. I actually might just pick up a few more of these as well, since Gigabytes has them. They're based in Atlanta. And I think that's all. You do have a rare from Maximum Gold, but I would stick with the ultra rare, the super rare. I think the ultra rare is a really good deal for 30 cents. Moving on here, we have Lib the World Key Blade Master from Dual Overload. This card is a solo print at the moment, and I kind of feel like this is a card that's probably flying under the radar for Konami as far as reprinting it until it gets some more value. But this card is ridiculous, and but basically, you can only link summon this card while you have a World Legacy card in your graveyard. You can only use each of the following effects of Blade Master once per turn. During your main phase, you can set one World Legacy spell or trap directly from your deck, which is going to be your World Legacy Succession, which is insane. And then if this card was link summoned and sent to the graveyard as a link material, you can shuffle one card on the field into the deck, which is pretty good if you're going second. This deck can grind out going second, but preferably it's a going first deck. But that's a good effect to have as a disruption if you are going second or if you're going into it later in the game. But as far as prices on this card, it's $1.50, which is really, really cheap for this card. I think I paid $3 for this card. So it has come down. It does bottom out at $2.50 here at the bottom of the first page. But just something to keep your eye on. So relatively cheap investment that might not see reprint in a long time, and just who knows whenever the scrap engine becomes a little bit more popular. Because I will say this card is like basically your power play. Because what I usually do is I'll link summon this card, set the World Legacy Succession, and then use that to revive back my scrap golem. Which then allows you to get an additional special summon. So just super powerful. And then along with that, since I looked at these, we'll go over this, and then I also want to look at, what is that card called? It's another scrap card. We'll find it, but it's insane. It's basically the scrap card that lets you Foolish Burial cards whenever it's summoned. Succession here. We'll look at the other reprints too, but this card's insane. Like I said, you can target one monster in your graveyard, special summon it to a zone that a link monster points to. Well, your zone. So if you're playing links, and of course you are if you're playing this deck, it's just really good. So $5 here for lightly played first edition. Near mint, actually $4.50 here. But there's not really a lot of copies for that price. Like no one has multiple of these. But for a long time, this card was $7 to $10, and it's kind of crazy to see that this card is like kind of declined in value. Getting additional special summons for like a 1-for-1 trade isn't always, or it hasn't been that good recently. Like you want to have a little bit more pluses than just going 1-for-1. But it's not bad, especially since this card you can search and set for free. But yeah, I guess there's one seller here with 2 copies at $5. I mean, that's fine. Like I said, I think $5 is a really good price for this card. I do believe it has an ultra rare as well. Yeah, the original print is an ultra rare around the same price, and that's the only copies we have for this card. And again, this could be a card that we don't see a reprint for a long time. So just something to keep your eye on. Oh yeah, since we're on scraps right now, let's go ahead and look at Scrap Recycler. That's what it is. This card is insane. Okay, so Scrap Raptor, it has a few printings here. But as far as getting a, like a hollow version, there's only one. You can get a rare for like 20 cents, which isn't bad. Might be something that you just want to pick up 5 copies for $1, but the way to go here is definitely just getting the super rare from Fist of the Gadget. I personally have the German super rares from this set, which look really cool with super dark. But I think at the time these were a little bit more expensive, so I got those for like $1 a piece. $1.14 here for near mint. That's a crazy good price for this card, honestly. And then bottoms out towards $1.50. Yeah, I would have these for sure. But basically, if this card is normal special summon, you can send 1 machine type monster from your deck to the graveyard. Once per turn, you can shuffle 2 level 4 Earth Machine type monsters from your graveyard into the deck, draw 1 card. Good, especially if you're playing Earth Machines. And since we're looking at this, I think, was there one other card? I think Crystron. Oops. Rose next, I believe. This is a card that you would send on, like if you were to normal summon your scrap recycler, you could send this to the graveyard and basically banish this from your graveyard to give yourself a token, and then start your play with scrap Wyvern, which I guess we'll also take a look at. This is cheap, by the way, but it's only available in commons. Scrap Wyvern. This card was getting expensive for a while, more towards like $6 to $8 because it was a solo print, but I believe it just recently got reprinted. Yeah, and El Dorado as a rare. But these super rares, which look really nice, by the way, this is what I have. They are 60 cents, and you can get a playset here for 63 cents a copy. Really good, really good for this card. And then going up to 75 cents, bottoming out towards $1. I think this is a great card to have in your investment binder. Something that could be $3-4 down the line. I don't think anything crazy, nothing like, it's not going to be a $10 to $20 card unless like this deck just becomes tier 0, which it won't most likely. But something you can, like a good penny stock to have for sure. Next is Royal Magical Library from OTS Tournament Pack 7, super rare. I just kind of came across this card today when I was looking at something else from Tournament Pack 7. And I was like, ooh, this is actually a pretty good card to maybe have, especially if you're like the Pendulum Magicians, I believe, used to play this. I think I do know some of those like really weird decks like Exodia, stuff like that, play this card. But it's $1.50 here, going up to around $2.50 towards the end of the page here. I just think this might be a sleeper card to have. I'm actually going to check at the other versions to make sure that this is the highest rarity. I don't think that there is another higher rarity printing. I think it's all commons. Yep, all commons. So I don't think this card is going to be like a competitive staple or anything like that by any means, but I do think this has the potential to go up slowly over time. And it's just a cool card to have. Up to you. It's not the strongest investment, but it could be something fun to have. Next is Nightmare Corruptor Iblis. So these are up in price recently. I think these have always been decently expensive, but Corruptor Iblis was like $1 card for when this set came out, I believe. But let's look at the secret rare first, and then we'll take a look at that. I'm not sure if anybody's actually playing this card right now. But if you don't know what this card does, when this card is normal summoned, you can target 1 link monster in your graveyard, special summon it, linked to this card, but change its attack to 0. Also, it has its effects negated. You cannot special summon monsters except link monsters. If this card you control is to your graveyard, you can special summon this card to your opponent's field in defense position. You can only use this effect once per turn. So just really good for like link climbing, reviving back. Like you could potentially like revive back like a link 3 monster by just normal summoning this card and then go into access code. So super strong, but something to just keep your eye on. Yeah, like I said, I don't think it's seeing play right now, but let's see what the price history has been over the past year. Yeah, so January this year, a first edition card copy of this was $6 unlimited, around the same price. And it's up quite a bit in price, 14 for unlimited. I think first edition is probably 16 here. Sakurasel has 2 lightly played. and the near mint is going to be $17. I don't know that I would pay that for this card at this point. I just don't see anything over like the next few months that would see play in potentially. I mean, it's not, we don't really have link heavy decks in the format right now, not that I can think of. I mean, other than like Marincess, or at Ignister, which I would still consider kind of rogue. I guess you do have Dragon Link, which is kind of always tier 1.5, tier 2. But I don't think that this would see play in that either. Maybe you could play this in a Cybers deck, I guess. Probably would be okay as like maybe a one of. You really wouldn't want to open up this card. But it's a cool card nonetheless. I would potentially maybe sell mine and see if it goes lower in the future. But the ultra rares I probably would for sure sell at $8 to $9. And if you really wanted the card, just sell these and go for the secret rare. But Unlim is gonna be $7 here, going up to $7.20 for near mint first edition. And I do have, I think, a couple of these laying around. I might dig them up and sell them. I just think it's a little high for this card, not seeing play. Next is going to be Sci-Frame Gear Gamma, the ultra rare from High Speed Riders. Right now, this has been down in price recently, so we have $22 here for Light Play First Edition, which I think is a really good deal. And then Drugia, which I have had pretty good experience with in the past as far as buying from that store, has them for 23 for Light Play First Edition. They have 2 copies. Near mint's 25, which is pretty good too. The cap on this card is kind of like 38 to $40. But I think at $21, that's a pretty good price to get this at. Maybe flip it down the road for $35. And at the very least, if you don't have these look really clean. And the only higher rarity version is a collector's rare, which is just so unaffordable that it just doesn't really make sense to get it. But here's my ultra rares. I just think these look really, really good. Really clean card to play. Quickly, we will take a look at the other copies to see if they've been affected as well. Because just a few months ago, I feel like this card was really on the up and up. The ultra rare was around 35 to $38 for the first edition. And then I think super rares were around like 8 and the gold rares were around 5. Gold rare is $4, so it hasn't changed too much. I think they were like a little under 5, like maybe like 450 to 480. Still think that I probably wouldn't get the rare, but I think the gold rare is actually a decent investment to hold. I didn't go crazy on these, but I think I bought a couple of play sets of this card to just have. It's just Gamma is just one of those cards that just goes up in price and has these crazy price spikes, especially when it comes into the format. I mean, that's kind of the same story for all hand traps, but just make sure you have your personal copies. The super rare is actually not a bad deal to get at $6 either. I would probably get the super rares over the gold rares at this point, but they are about $2 more expensive. But I think best deal here is definitely ultra rares. But you know, having a few different rarities of this card is not a bad idea. Hand traps just hold their value. I mean, it doesn't even really matter if they get reprinted to a certain extent. You know, it's going to bring the price down, but they kind of bounce back over time. Next is going to be Ghost Mourner Moonlit Chill, which I have talked about a lot, like over the past few months. This card was like $30. If you didn't know, recently I actually bought 2 copies for like 28 each, like a few months ago, and then I recently bought another playset for $18 each, which I thought was a really good deal. But these have actually come down further, believe it or not. We have 1 copy here for 13, which is absolute steal, especially because it's from direct. So if you have like the subscription like I do, they're going to track this order for you. And then after that, it's 14 going up to 15. But the first place set is probably going to be more towards that 16, 17. So 1650 for light play. Near mint is, let's see, first place set is 20. I would probably just come and get these 2 copies right here, and maybe like one other one. I would try to get near mints of this card, but to be honest with you, I doubt the lightly playeds are really in that bad of shape, because it's still, I mean, I guess, believe it or not, Eternity Code is over 2 years old now, which is mind blowing, because I keep thinking that Eternity Code came out last year, which it definitely did not. But crazy cheap right now. I would definitely keep your eye on this card. All of the Ghost Girls are going to do well over time, I believe, especially because this is actually a pretty strong Ghost Girl. It does only allow you to use it once per turn. But if you're playing this card, I would consider playing Crossout Designator. And if you are, you probably only need to play 2 copies of this card. I wouldn't really recommend playing a full play set unless you're playing like a base strategy where you just want to maximize tuners. But I think this card is better than Effect Failure, in my opinion, depending on the format, of course. Like if you have Invokes running around, like, yeah, I would definitely play Effect Failure over this card, but I don't think normal summons are like that key right now. It just kind of depends as well. I actually think that this card's like really good to use against Dragon Link because you get to burn them for a little bit of damage there, and as well as like you don't really care about their normal summon as much. You care more about stopping like their Romulus and stuff like that. And then last, I wanted to look over the 2022 10 of the Pharaohs, 10 of the Pharaohs God case. I just said that so wrong. 10 of the Pharaohs Gods case, I think. Yeah, that's right. So I looked around for a little bit to see if I could find some good deals on pre-sale. And from what I was seeing, mostly it was around 180. Usually you can get these for like, on pre-sale around 155. But I kind of am thinking that we might not see 155 on this. Maybe July potentially, but I kind of doubt it. I kind of think that we're nearing the low point here. So do some searching around, but if you want to, just go ahead and pull the trigger. Core TCG has them for 169, which I think is pretty good. I was prepared to pay like 200 for this because I wasn't sure if people would be giving out deals on these with as good as these 10s should be. Theoretically, it just kind of depends. Like last year, that those 10s had the potential to be the best 10s of all time, and they just completely botched it. Not putting droplets in there and not putting access code talker in there. Like they really screwed the pooch on that one. But we are guaranteed to get, not in every 10 of course, but we are getting I think they said new versions of God cards or something like that. I can't remember, but I know for sure we're getting the Ghost Girls, Forbidden Droplet, and the 2019 Mega 10 promos that they got, which would be like the Nibiru and I believe Called by the Grave, and potentially what's that other card? I can't think of Dimension Shifter. Which actually reminds me, I need to go do research and make sure that's the case. But if it is, I'm probably going to go ahead and offload my Dimension Shifters because I'm not playing them right now, and it's a free $8 when I paid $2 a piece for those cards, $3 a piece, something like that. But that's all I have for you today, guys. Let me know what cards you guys are looking to pick up or what decks you're, trying to play right now or, coming up soon. And if you're wondering like kind of what's going on with the market, we're definitely in a market crash right now. And I think that's because we're heading towards a recession, unfortunately. So just make sure that you don't overextend yourself, investing in things like especially cards, because they could get hit hard by, a recession. Like we're already seeing values drop quite a bit. So be smart with what you invest in and make sure that I'm not a financial advisor. I guess I should get that out the way, and I don't pretend to be, but I just try to tell you guys what I'm picking up or what I think is going to have good value going forward. But I do think that setting aside some savings going forward for the next year or so, just to make sure that you're going to be protected if the economy really crashes. I think that's probably one of the best bets you can make at this point. But thanks for watching, guys. I will see you on the next one. Bye.